Hey guys, I'm Layla. Today we're in Raid Shadow Legends, and we're going to be checking out the lore story for Praeva the Slitherer. She is a newer, legendary demon spawn that was added to the game. And her design, I think she looks pretty cool. Like, I'd love to know how she came out looking like this, right? Is this like a helmet or is it part of her? It almost looks like it's part of her. I think her outfit's pretty cool. She has kind of like this almost like toga, half pink toga robe thing going on. The design is really neat. Like, they definitely got like the gold and the pink thing going on with her. Her staff is really cool, and I love the glowing with it. So I'm really hoping that the lore story kind of touches on why she looks like this, because she's not all fully looking like this demon part. It's like you see part humanoid on here as well too. So I'd love to know, maybe she was like a human turned to demon or something, right? All right, so let's read the lore story together. Like I said, I haven't read it yet. The firstborn Praeva resided in the primordial mistwood. She was a healer of bodies and souls, infinitely generous and compassionate. The horrors of the Great Divorce weighed heavily on her. She tried to avoid picking a side, treating and comforting those loyal to Lemea and those loyal to Siroth equally. Yet both sides tried, subtly and not, to persuade her. Successive visitors under Siroth's orders wove tales of woe and persecution, feeding her a mixture of lies, half-truths, and general grievances. They convinced her that Lumea's cessation of the dances would doom the world to inevitable stagnation and decay, the opposite of what the healer Praeva most desired. Convinced to help Siroth, Praeva began inflicting maladies upon Lumea's servants under the guise of care. Because the firstborn could not die, but could still suffer, they often used terrible curses and diseases as a means of waging war. Praeva extracted the afflictions Siroth's firstborn were suffering, stored them within her inner reserves of magic, and then poured them into Lumea's faithful, where they lay dormant until Praeva later activated them. By these betrayals of her trusting patience, Praeva's heart was darkened, and she was sent to Anathrad, following the casting of the banishment spell. When her fellow demons discovered what she had done, they named her the Slitherer, for she stored and injected curses like a snake with its venom and rock-cold serpentine treachery. She, in turn, was furious to discover that the firstborn of Siroth had deceived her to win her loyalty, but all her hatred could not undo her fate. Stricken with grief and self-loathing, Praeva brooded reclusively for many centuries, the darkness of Anathrad destroying whatever vestiges of goodness remained in her. She hid from Siroth's gaze and refused to aid him throughout numerous major events: the Sin of Dragons, the fall of the dwarves, and 2 great wars. Eventually, however, an overwhelming longing for a homeland grew within her, and she finally decided to seek Siroth's guidance. Siroth revealed that he had left a seed of corruption within the Mistwood before the Great Divorce, a means of transforming the forest into his dominion. He promised Praeva that she could rule this domain if she awakened the seed. Praeva agreed. She inhabited a mortal body and became a demon spawn, able to pass into Teleria. Siroth promised, in time, to send another demon spawn to help her carry out the plan. Meanwhile, Praeva decided to acquire a small but highly skilled group of mortal thralls to aid her. Disguising her monstrous appearance, Praeva established herself in Yakai as a traveling physician, remaining unassuming and elusive. Grasping her bewilderment, but trusting charges by the skull with both hands, staring deep into their uncomprehending eyes and murmuring ancient invocations, she absorbed the quality of fealty from the loyal, but unremarkable citizens she healed, just as she had absorbed curses from the firstborn. Then, after gathering a small amount of this metaphysical essence, she infused a series of strong warriors with a massive dose of it, and, as with her delayed curses, set the magic to only awaken at her later command. When she issued it, those skillful warriors became her slaves, abandoning their lives to travel to her. Siroth was satisfied that the invasion force was ready and dispatched its final member, the demon spawn Petrifia, a living font of rot and desiccation. Petrifia led their infiltration, loosening the sorrow and burrowing through the earth for countless miles under the Mistwood. Praeva and her elites followed her through the tunnel. When they surfaced, Praeva instructed Petrified to lead the rest and create it as distracting a slaughter as possible, while she awakened the seed. While Petrified and the rest set about massacring Sylvan citizens and the Sylvan Watchers drawn to the fight, Praeva sneaked to the very roots of the Heart Tree, where the seed of corruption lay dormant and unnoticed. At her touch, the seed pulsed with dark magic and unleashed a tidal wave of malign energy. So began the Sylvan corruption, the twisted mutation of the tree and the Sylvan themselves. But Praeva would not live to see it. Siroth had concealed from her the true price of awakening the seed. She was absorbed by it, body and soul, the totality of her power acting as the catalyst of the self-perpetuating corruption. In essence, she herself became the corruption, but was erased from existence. For as long as the corruption raged, she was utterly lost. But when the tainted heart tree was finally burned and the corruption ended, a faint trace of Praeva returned. The Arbiter took this and recreated Praeva within a shard, much as she had called back the echo of Haraphet Lazarius. Time will tell whether Praeva can be redeemed or if she is simply a prisoner. Okay, guys, I gotta say, this story did not go the way I thought it would. So we talk about that she was a Sylvan Watcher, right? That's where she starts. And how in the beginning, like, she was really unbiased towards either side, whether it was Light versus Darkness, whether it was Lamea versus Siroth. But eventually she was swayed to Siroth's side, and Siroth literally used her to basically like unleash the corruption that we saw happen in the Sylvan Watchers, right? To destroy their tree and to corrupt their essence. And what we see in the lore story for some of the other Sylvan Watchers is it actually started corrupting some of the other Sylvan Watchers instead. So he basically used her as a sacrifice and didn't tell her the cost. I do like that because I always like the concepts of magic has a price. Magic has a cost. That, I like the concept of you can't just do things, freely like that. Like there's always going to be a price to pay, regardless of what the price is, whether it costs a soul and a body like it did here, whether it ends up being like a curse or a blessing or just something. As I always like the idea of like the cost and effect, right? That there's always going to be a cost to doing that. And we have the Arbiter comes back and resurrects her and brings her back, very similar to Hierophant, right? And I guess that would explain maybe why she's got kind of like the bandages and stuff on her, because again, she's resurrected in a way. Because Haraphet Lazarius basically was like resurrected mummification kind of a thing, right? So I think that's interesting how they liken it to that. I would love to know what you guys think for the lore story of Praeva the Slitherer. Is it what you thought it was? Do you like the direction that they went with that? Make sure you guys drop me a comment down below, and thanks for watching.